All right, guys, so we did some very preliminary work on quadrilaterals. So let's talk about the back of that page, 15.4, for these special quadrilaterals and see how they compare. All I did was take these shapes right here and drew them a little bigger on paper so that I can draw on it and not mess up on this tiny little piece of paper. All right, but let's talk about first this top part and go over, just review again what each quadrilateral has special. Okay, so quadrilaterals, every single one of these 5 shapes is a quadrilateral. The only thing that has to be true about a polygon for it to be a quadrilateral is it has to have 4 sides, and all 4 or 5 of those have 4 sides. Specifically, this one is a trapezoid because a trapezoid can only have exactly 1 pair of parallel sides. It can't have 2. Okay, so it has to have just 1 pair. A parallelogram has to have 2 pairs of equal parallel sides. So this is different from a trapezoid because the trapezoid only has 1 pair of parallel sides, the top and the bottom one in this case. These 2 are not because they'll cross, and this one has 2 pairs. These sides will never cross, and the top and the bottom will never cross. A rectangle is a parallelogram, so you'll notice for the last 3, it calls them parallelograms. So if it's a parallelogram, it has to have 2 pairs of parallel sides. So a rectangle is a parallelogram. A rhombus is a parallelogram. A square is a parallelogram because they have opposite parallel sides. But then they have some more qualities. So a rectangle is a parallelogram and it has to have 4 right angles. A rhombus is a parallelogram and it has to have 4 equal sides. A square is a parallelogram and it has to have 4 right angles and 4 equal sides. So in order to be qualified as a square, it has to have all of those characteristics. Okay? All right, so let's look at number 1. Here's our number 1. I'm just drawing it a little bit bigger here so that I can draw on it, make a mess, and not have to try to squeeze it on that little piece of paper. All right, so let's take a peek at number 1. When you're looking at a shape to give it its properties, I want you to look for a couple of things. First, I'm going to take this for a second. First, we're going to look for the number of sides because we can identify a polygon by its number of sides. Triangle, quadrilateral, hexagon, pentagon, octagon, decagon. That's first. Then I want you to look for how many parallel sides it has, and those always come in pairs because to be parallel, they have to never cross. Then after you look at the parallel sides, I want you to look at their angles. Do they have right angles, which are perfect corners, or do they not have right angles? Okay, those are the keys to the side, to qualifying a quadrilateral or any polygon. Also, you can look at the length of the sides. Are they equal? Are they different sides? Are they opposite equal sides? Okay, so those are the 4 things we're going to look for. All right, let's take a peek at this one first. All right, number of sides, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we know this is a quadrilateral. Right off the start, easiest qualification is a polygon by its number of sides. It's a quadrilateral. All right, now let's look and see, does it have parallel sides? Pairs of them. Well, these right here are not parallel because if I continue them forever and ever, they're going to intersect and cross at the top. So those are not parallel. But these sides, just like the lines on my paper, will go on forever and ever and never cross. So it has 1 pair, 1 set of parallel sides. We're looking at our qualifications. That 1 pair of parallel sides makes it a trapezoid. So it's both a quadrilateral and a trapezoid. And you'll notice on your paper, it's got 2 lines right there. So that this has 2 lines, so it's a quadrilateral and a trapezoid. Okay? All right, let's look at number 2. This one we have 2 lines as well. First, number of sides. It's again a quadrilateral, 4-sided figure. Let's look at its parallel sides. Well, these purple sides are parallel. They'll never ever cross. And these blue sides are parallel. They'll never ever cross. So it has 2 pairs of parallel sides. Does it have any right angles? Nope, acute and obtuse angles. So if it has 2 pairs of parallel sides and it's a quadrilateral, it is a parallelogram. And luckily, we have 2 lines, so it's a parallelogram and quadrilateral. Next one. All right, number of sides. That makes it a quadrilateral, and you can start just calling it a quad from now on, just for this paper, so it gives you a little help. If I look at the parallel sides, I see this side is parallel to this side, so those opposite sides are parallel. This and this are parallel, so it has two pairs of parallel sides. That makes it a parallelogram. And when I look at the angles, they put these little right corners in here to show you that they are right angles. So it has 4 right angles. 2 pairs of opposite sides are parallel, so it's a parallelogram. Parallelogram, 4 right angles. The other one that has 4 right angles is a square, has 4 equal sides. Well, that's not true for this one. It only has opposite sides equal. So this is a rectangle. Okay, so this one has 3 names: quadrilateral, parallelogram, rectangle. Number 4, this one's got 3 names. All right, let's look at the number of sides. It's got 4, so it's a quadrilateral. Opposite sides are parallel. If I keep them going forever and always, they will never cross. Looks like a diamond on its side. So it is a parallelogram. What about its angles? Does it have 4 right angles? No, and if you remember yesterday, I told you the easy check for a right angle is taking a corner of a piece of paper and sliding it along one of the sides and seeing if that angle is bigger or smaller. This one right here is an obtuse angle because it's larger than this corner, so it doesn't have right angles. So it can't be a rectangle, can't be a square. Quadrilateral parallelogram. It does have 4 equal sides though. All 4 sides are equal length. So that makes it a rhombus. When you think of diamond, automatically think of rhombus because they mean the same. Okay. All right, let's take a peek at the next one. Where did I put my next ones? Oh, here we go. All right. Watch how many names this one has. Right away when you look at that, I bet you're already saying, well, that's a square, Miss Jones. It's got 4 right angles, 4 equal sides, and I would have to say you're right. But let's make sure we get all of its names. It's a quadrilateral because it has 4 sides. All it has to have is 4 sides. Are the opposite sides parallel? That's parallel to that. That's parallel to that. I agree. So it is a parallelogram. Should we stop? Nope. All right, what about a rhombus? A rhombus has to be a parallelogram. Check. It has to have 4 equal sides. Check. It has to have opposite sides parallel. Check. So this is also a rhombus. What about a rectangle? A rectangle has to have 4 sides. Check. It has to have 4 right angles. Check. It has to have 2 pairs of parallel sides. Check, because it's a parallelogram. And it has to have opposite sides equal. Well, the purple sides are equal and the blue sides are equal. So yes, this is also a rectangle. A shape or polygon can be a rectangle and a square. A square actually is a rectangle. It just happens to have all 4 sides the same. All right, let's look at number 6. Number 6 only has 1 line by it, so it only has 1 name. Well, I bet you can guess what that 1 name is. It's a quadrilateral because it's a 4-sided figure. Well, why doesn't it have any other names? Does it have 2 pairs of parallel sides? This side is not parallel to that side. They will cross. This side is not parallel to this side. Eventually, way up here, they will intersect. So they're not parallel. So it's not a parallelogram. It does not have right angles, so it's not a square or a rectangle. It does not have 4 equal sides, so it's not a rhombus. So it is only qualified and classified as a quadrilateral. All right, the last question that's on here, it takes a little writing to explain. And I will tell you that even adults, and myself, I have to slow myself down to really think about how to answer to questions like this, whether a square is a rhombus or a rhombus is a square or a rectangle is a rhombus. It takes a lot of thought thinking about the properties of each one of those quadrilaterals. Okay, so let's see. Marvin says that a rhombus, all rhombuses are squares. Aretha says all squares are rhombuses. Who's right? And explain. All right, so let's talk about rhombus and square first. That will help us to identify who's right. In order to be called a polygon, it has to have the limited requirements for that polygon. So let's talk about a rhombus. A rhombus has two pairs of parallel sides. Okay, has to have two pairs of parallel sides. It has to have four equal sides. And has to have, obviously, four sides. That's all the requirements for a rhombus. Two pairs of parallel sides and four equal sides. All right, what's the requirements for a square? It has to have two pair of parallel sides as well. It has to have four equal sides as well. It also has to have four right angles. Okay. So now if we want to say a rhombus is a square or a square is a rhombus, we have to look at the qualities and the properties of these shapes. Okay? So a rhombus has to have two pairs of parallel sides and four equal sides. Does a square have two pairs of parallel sides and four equal sides? Yes, it does. So a square is a rhombus. If it has the qualities that are properties that a rhombus has to have, then it becomes a rhombus as well. All right, let's see if a rhombus is a square. Does a rhombus have two pairs of parallel sides? Yes. Does it have four equal sides? Yes. Does it have four right angles? Not necessarily. It may, but it doesn't have to. That's not one of its properties. So the fact that a square has to have four right angles, I cannot say that a square or a rhombus is always a square because it's missing this property. It's not one of the properties. So a square is always, I'm going to add this word to it. A square is always a rhombus. A square is not, I'm going to change that, sorry guys. A rhombus is not always a square. A rhombus can be a square if it did have four right angles, but it's not always a square because it doesn't have to have four right angles. This is very difficult to wrap your mind around, so we're going to practice that a little bit more tomorrow as well as we're qualifying these. Okay? All right, so now on your paper, you're going to open it up and take a look with the exact same thing we just did. Look at the shapes, and it tells you exactly how many things you can name them that's beside them. We even did some of these together. So try to fold the paper over so you don't look at the ones we did and test yourself to see if you can do them without me. And then I'll put the answers up again. Okay? Good luck, and remember we're going to practice this some more tomorrow when I see you again. Bye.